Hey folks, Coach Patrick from Marathon Nation back with another weekly coach podcast. Every week I get your questions on Twitter, on Facebook, through your blog comments. I love them all. I can't answer them all, but sometimes I have the time. And today I'm sitting down, banging out a couple of these quick videos to give you guys, real world answers back to your questions, which I know are so important to you. Thank you for sharing them with me, and I hope I can do them some justice through my answers. This most recent question is from Mark. Who says, I recently ran my first marathon and began getting leg cramps, first in the quads, then the calves, at about mile 17. After doing a post-mortem on my race, I probably went out too fast, but I also didn't take in enough electrolyte replacements. I'll never really know. It's also a possibility that I overtrained by trying to get in one last 20-mile run, but coming up short for some reason and trying again the following week. All possible reasons. I agree with you, Mark. His question is this: with a full marathon training cycle to go for his second, what can I do to avoid the cramps this time? Nutrition intake I know, but what can I change assuming my leg strength was an issue? Mainly my calves. Well, Mark, you kind of are dancing around the subject, but I want to make it clear for you as well, and just in case other folks out there don't know. We actually don't know for 100% what it is that caused cramps in our muscle. It's easy to point to an electrolyte imbalance or overuse of muscles. But at the end of the day, we are not sure if it's really the muscle, if it's a signal from our brain. What we do know is that it's a way for our body to tell us to stop doing what we're doing, right? Your body says, I don't like what Mark's up to here. I'm at this mile 17 thing and everyone else is still running. I'm going to throw a cramp in his quad. He's not listening, and boom, I'm going to drop it into his calf. So he's got to slow down and take it easy. There's a variety of reasons why that could possibly happen to you. 9 times out of 10, it's because you're doing something to overuse that muscle more so than you have in your training. So it's possible that you may have done something differently during your race situation that caused this to come on than you did in your training. You mentioned you went out a little bit hard. It's quite possible that you ran harder on race day than you had in any of your training runs for those first 6 miles, say. The way we recommend taking the first 6 miles kind of a little bit easier inside Marathon Nation. A lot of people have trouble doing that. And sometimes all of that dodging other people and trying to get up to speed in the early miles can be enough to tax your body to the point that by the time you hit mile 17, over 2 hours later, your muscles are done and they want to throw a cramp at you. Ways to solve the problem of cramps moving forward. Let's address them with you in chronological order. First and foremost, don't do that extra 20-mile run. Like, you went out to do the 20-mile run, say 4 weeks out, right? 4 weeks out, you do your last long run, you go out to do your 20-mile run, something goes wrong, you bag it. It's done. You have to start tapering. There's nothing, absolutely nothing to be gained by taking next week's 14-miler and adding 6 miles to it just so you mentally feel ready. Your fitness is there, your fitness is in the bank, and you are better off showing up on race day rested and feeling slightly undertrained than showing up on race day feeling tired and knowing you are overtrained, which so many runners do, okay? It's amazing what you can do on marathon day with good fitness and a lot of rest. The majority of runners out there prefer the converse of that, the inverse of that, which is showing up on race day with tons of miles on their legs and crossing their fingers that they don't pop. Don't be that person. Be smarter than that. Understand that you don't need that extra 20-mile run. So that's number 1. Number 2, have a good nutrition plan in place based on the conditions you're set to expect on the day and your basic sweat rate. Take your sweat rate. You can figure out what that is online. There's a bunch of online calculators. Understand what it is your body needs on a sort of a basic functional level from your long runs, and then implement that across your race. For most people, in running only, unless temperatures are above the 70s, you don't need tons of electrolytes outside of what's already in the standard sports drink on the course. You can supplement with little salt pills as needed. They sell those in running stores and triathlon stores. But in general, that's kind of more insurance than it is anything else, because as long as you've been okay in training and you're doing on race day what you were doing in training, then your body's not going to be in a bad spot. We can limit a lot of those herky-jerky maneuvers by avoiding being nervous at the start and running a little more smoothly. That can go a long way to kind of keeping you in a good spot. But ultimately, you want to be smart about what you're doing from the training perspective and the nutrition perspective. Last and not least is to say, hey, what happens to your body by the time you hit mile 17? If you've ever seen the finish line of a marathon or watched it, you know that the longer the day goes on, the worse and worse people look, right? And it's not because they're not great runners. It's because Hell, they've been running like twice as long as some of these other folks. You feel great about your 2:30 marathon? Awesome. You know Billy Joe Bob and like Tina, the woman around the corner, mother of four, stay at home, trains only at 4 a.m. She's doing a 5:15. She's out there over twice as long as you. She is doing some serious work. And 5 hours of straight running or walk running or combination thereof is a huge toll on your body. And for a lot of people, their form and technique start to break down later in the marathon. In your case, Mark, it's quite possible that you did something that sets you off. You changed your gait, you changed your stride, perhaps got a little shorter, who knows? And as a result, you got a cramp because you were using muscles or using similar muscles in a way you had not used before. Working on flexibility leading up to the weeks before the race, and also really focusing in on technique. So notice I'm not saying go to the gym and do calf raises to get rid of your calf cramps. Focus on your technique, have a consistent nutrition plan, don't be overtrained or fatigued leading into your race day, and chances are those cramps will take care of themselves. I wish I had a concrete answer for you. I wish I had a magical little pill you could take and it would all be fine, but that's just not the case. It's part of one of the vagaries and one of the exciting elements of doing these long distance events like marathons. Best of luck to you in your training cycle. Other folks, if you've got questions, anything else, please hit me up. Find me on Twitter, find Marathon Nation on Facebook. Find us anywhere, give us your questions. I'll be happy to answer. It's Coach Patrick from Marathon Nation signing off. Take care, folks.